The most dangerous players never announce their moves. While everyone broadcasts their goals on social media, true power operators work in complete darkness, shaping outcomes before anyone realizes the game has started. What if your greatest advantage isn't what you say, but what you refuse to reveal? Why does uncertainty destroy your opponent from within? Human minds are pattern recognition machines that malfunction when patterns disappear. When you conceal your intentions, you're not just keeping secrets. You're installing a self-destruct program inside anyone trying to decode you. While you move forward with your plans, people around you enter an infinite analysis loop. What does she really want? What's the end game here? Is this a threat or an opportunity? They burn massive cognitive energy trying to predict your next moves while you simply execute. Uncertainty functions as a psychological weapon because it forces opponents to fight themselves. They start self-correcting based on assumptions, making defensive decisions against attacks you never planned, investing resources preparing for scenarios that exist only in their imagination. There's a fascinating phenomenon here. When you don't explicitly dictate what people should do but subtly guide through strategic ambiguity, they feel they're making autonomous decisions, and people commit far more deeply to choices they believe are their own ideas. Ever noticed how direct confrontation generates automatic resistance? Tell someone explicitly what to do and watch rebellion emerge, even if it benefits that person. But leave subtle clues. Create an environment where that action seems the obvious choice, and they'll execute with voluntary zeal. Ancient warriors understood something called the empty gaze, a look that reveals nothing but sees everything. It was a combat technique where the fighter maintained blank eyes, making it impossible for opponents to predict the next attack. Intent remained hidden until the split second of execution. Result? Victories before battles truly began. Think about complex negotiations. The negotiator who shows all cards first always loses. The one who maintains zones of ambiguity about true priorities, limits, and alternatives controls the pace and final outcome. The other party never knows for sure how much they can push, how much they can ask, when they stopped negotiating and started losing. This deliberate uncertainty also works as a filter. People who need constant certainty, who demand total transparency about every intention, naturally distance themselves. Who remains? Those who trust your execution more than your words. Those who understand the game at a more sophisticated level. Real power isn't making people fear you. It's making them constantly reevaluate whether they understood you correctly. The strategic minds throughout history who shaped empires never telegraphed their moves. They understood that spoken ambitions create instant opposition. Silence creates space for maneuvering. When you operate without revealing your hand, something extraordinary happens. People project power onto you even when you're just observing. Your absence of explicit declarations gets interpreted as strategic depth. Your calculated silence reads as unshakable confidence. Here's what most people miss. The world doesn't need to understand your intentions for you to achieve your objectives. In fact, the less they understand, the more room you have to maneuver. Have you already noticed someone using this strategy against you? How many times did you feel manipulated by someone whose true intention you could never fully identify? But there's a mechanism even deeper at work here. What comes next reveals how to create this vacuum of influence without seeming weak or indecisive. How does strategic vagueness control outcomes without force? There's a vacuum that forms when you don't fill the air with explicit statements. And here's the secret. People hate vacuums. They will fill that empty space with their own projections, interpretations, and most importantly, with what they themselves want to see. When you operate with excessive clarity, you limit possibilities. You close doors before knowing which ones are worth opening. But when you maintain strategically ambiguous intentions, something fascinating happens. You allow each person around you to see in you exactly what they need to see. Watch high-level corporate takeovers. The most skilled executives never prematurely reveal their true motivations. They circulate fragmented information, drop contradictory clues, create multiple possible narratives. Why? Because while everyone's trying to decipher the real plan, they're buying time, collecting intelligence, and observing who positions themselves where. Strategic imprecision isn't confusion. It's control through non-revelation. It's letting adversaries exhaust themselves debating possibilities while you keep all options open. Consider the difference between declaring going after that promotion versus simply building key relationships without announcing anything. In the first case, you create instant competitors. In the second, you advance while others haven't even realized there's a race happening. Intelligence interrogation principles apply a similar concept. The less you say, the more the other person reveals. Strategic silence creates discomfort that people feel compelled to fill. They talk, explain, justify, and in the process hand over exactly the information you needed without realizing it. But there's a fine line here. Genuine ambiguity versus appearing indecisive. The first is a weapon. The second is weakness. Strategic ambiguity comes with deliberate actions, calculated moves that seem random to external observers, but follow precise internal logic. When you master this art, something extraordinary occurs. People begin projecting authority onto you even when you're merely watching. Your lack of explicit declarations gets interpreted as depth. Your measured silence reads as supreme confidence. The philosophical masters practiced something called preferred indifference, the ability to prefer certain outcomes without desperately clinging to them. This stance creates natural ambiguity about how much something truly matters to you. And when nobody knows how badly you want something, nobody can use it as leverage against you. Modern tech innovators operate this way brilliantly. They work on projects for years in complete secrecy. When they finally reveal the product is ready, the market was prepared without knowing, and competitors wake up too late. Intent remained concealed during the most vulnerable period. You want real influence? Stop explaining. Stop justifying. Stop telegraphing every intention as if you're obligated to share your plans with the world. What area of your life would completely transform if you revealed less and executed more? But wait, there's a practical framework for applying this without looking lost or confused. The next section separates masters from amateurs. How do you balance ambiguity without appearing lost? Here's the challenge. Operating with hidden intentions is a delicate dance. Lean too far one way, and you appear indecisive, weak, directionless. Lean the other, and you reveal too much, losing the advantage. Mastery lies in the balance between sufficient engagement and strategic distance. First rule: your actions must be deliberate, even when your words are vague. Ambiguity in communication doesn't mean passivity in execution. You act with precision, but let others interpret the why. You build, but don't explain the project's architecture until it's complete. There's a fundamental difference between strategic ambiguity and pathetic indecision. Indecision is paralysis disguised as caution. Strategic ambiguity is constant movement without telegraphing the final destination. Indecisive individuals don't know what they want. Ambiguous strategists know exactly what they want. They just choose not to broadcast it. Watch how elite special operations units function. They deploy with clear objectives, but maintain operational flexibility. The mission parameters are known internally, but external observers see only seemingly random movements until the objective is suddenly accomplished. Intent revealed through completed action, not advance warning. But when to reveal? That's the million-dollar question. Calculated revelation amplifies power when timing is right. You reveal your intentions at the moment when revelation itself becomes a strategic move. When revealing creates more advantage than continuing to hide. Think about major business acquisitions. The smartest CEOs let rumors circulate, test waters, observe reactions before confirming anything. When they finally announce, they've completely mapped the terrain, preemptively neutralized opposition, and transformed the revelation into an event they totally control. Ancient combat techniques included the concept of alternating between real and false, full and empty. You create movements that appear to be your real objectives, but are merely diversions. Your true intentions move in the shadow of these obvious distractions. Here's a practical application. In important meetings, ask more questions than you make statements. Each strategic question collects information while revealing zero about your position. You map complete terrain while others waste ammunition showing their cards. Another trick: Develop multiple plausible narratives about your actions. Not just one cover story, but several equally valid interpretations. This creates a mental labyrinth where any attempt to decipher your intentions leads down different paths. While people debate which is real, you're already executing the next phase. But beware of excess. If nobody ever understands anything you do, you lose allies and build isolation instead of influence. The art is revealing enough to maintain engagement and concealing enough to maintain advantage. The perfect balance? Show your values and principles clearly. Keep your specific methods and objectives strategically vague. People trust consistent values, but you maintain complete tactical flexibility. But there's an ethical dimension that cannot be ignored. Where exactly does strategy end and destructive manipulation begin? What follows will force you to look in the mirror. Have you already noticed someone using this strategy against you? Comment shadow if you've ever felt manipulated by someone whose true intention you could never fully identify. How many times did you lose an opportunity by explaining too much too soon? If this content is revealing a layer of strategy you never considered before, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. What if your silence is actually manipulation? Let's address the elephant in the room. There's a razor-thin line between strategic influence and corrosive manipulation. And if you're using these techniques without questioning your deeper motivations, you might be building power at the cost of your own humanity. The final law of power is often forgotten. Assume formlessness. But this law also carries an implicit warning: when you become pure strategy without substance, you dissolve. Hidden intent is only sustainable when there's genuine intent underneath. Otherwise, you're just playing empty games. The moral question isn't whether you should conceal intentions. It's about what kind of intentions you're hiding and why. Are you concealing plans that benefit everyone but would cause premature resistance? Or are you hiding manipulation that serves only your ego at others' expense? True masters of this art maintain rigorous internal moral compass. They don't reveal intentions because premature revelation would destroy something valuable they're building. They operate with strategic ambiguity to protect visions the world isn't ready to fully understand yet. There's also the self-defense question. You need to learn identifying when others are using these techniques against you. Watch patterns. When someone consistently avoids clear commitment, but always gets you to commit first. When responses are always ambiguous, but actions are precisely coordinated. When you feel guided, but can't identify exactly how. To protect yourself, always keep your own cards close until you fully understand the game being played. Ask your own probing questions. Observe actions more than words. And never fill information vacuums with your own positive projections. Long-term strategy isn't about constant tricks and manipulations. It's about building genuine influence through real results. Strategic ambiguity is a tool to protect your moves until they materialize, not a permanent lifestyle of deception. Historical warriors who truly mastered strategy weren't deceivers, they were protectors of valuable plans until execution time. They understood that premature revelation invites destruction of what hasn't yet solidified. Here's the final truth. Power built on lies and manipulation is a sandcastle waiting the tide. Power built on real competence, protected by strategic ambiguity while developing, is concrete foundation. The most powerful unrevealed intention of all? The intention to create real value. Genuinely contribute, build something that matters. Keep that hidden until it's ready to reveal itself through undeniable results. Modern leaders who transform industries don't announce their revolutions, they execute them in silence until the transformation is irreversible. Then the world wakes up to completed change, not proposed ideas. Are you using these techniques to protect something worth building, or to avoid accountability for lack of real substance? And here's where everything converges. The invisible hand isn't about hiding forever, it's about choosing the perfect moment when revelation becomes your ultimate weapon. WHAT if the invisible hand was always yours. There's something most people never grasp about hidden intentions. The goal was never permanent concealment. The goal was controlling the timing and terms of revelation. The invisible hand becomes most powerful the moment it chooses to become visible. Throughout history, the most impactful movements began in complete obscurity. Revolutionary ideas developed in small circles, away from premature criticism and destructive opposition. When they finally emerged, they were fully formed, battle-tested, ready to withstand scrutiny. Strategic ambiguity during development phases isn't weakness, it's protection of the vulnerable. Seeds don't announce they'll become trees. They silently grow roots deep underground before breaking the surface. By the time they're visible, they're already too established to be easily removed. The modern world punishes this approach. Everyone demands instant transparency, real-time updates, constant communication. But the smartest operators ignore this noise. They understand that premature sharing dilutes power and invites interference. Think about classified military operations. Information is compartmentalized, not because everyone's an enemy, but because loose lips sink ships. Each person knows their piece of the puzzle, but only leadership sees the complete picture. Result? Coordinated execution without leaks, without premature exposure. But here's the paradox. The most successful use of hidden intentions eventually leads to public revelation. Under your terms, you controlled the narrative by controlling the timeline. You shaped perceptions by choosing when and how truth emerged. The warrior codes emphasize striking from darkness, not for cowardice, but for efficiency. Why alert the enemy to your position before you're ready to engage? Why waste energy defending your approach before you've proven it works? The philosophical truth underneath all of this: you're not hiding from judgment. You're protecting creation from premature judgment. There's a vast difference between secrecy born from shame and discretion born from wisdom. Your unrevealed intentions are only as valuable as the results they ultimately produce. Empty mystery is just ego dressed in shadows. But purposeful concealment protecting genuine value creation? That's mastery. The question isn't whether to reveal or conceal. The question is, are you building something worth protecting during its vulnerable phases? If yes, strategic ambiguity is armor. If no, it's just smoke obscuring emptiness. Ready to master the invisible hand? Type shadow if you understand that real power doesn't need spotlights to exist. What's one goal you're working toward that would benefit from less talk and more silent execution? If this video expanded your understanding of influence and strategy, smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, and share this with someone who needs to understand that silence is also a language of power. This content is for educational and strategic purposes. The techniques presented should be used with ethical discernment and personal responsibility. We do not encourage harmful manipulation or deceptive practices that cause damage to others.